Hi everyone, in today's video I will be talking about the last 18 months that have been filled with grief. I will be speaking about all those emotions, but also about all the natural healing modalities that I have applied to myself, and I think it can be of great benefit for you if you're going through the same. And yeah, as you can imagine, after my daughter passed away, it has been a roller coaster of so many different emotions, and I still to this day sometimes wake up in the middle of the night with this overwhelming sense of panic and not able to breathe. And then another day, a next moment, I am just overwhelmingly grateful to God for taking such a good care of her in heaven. So today I will be talking about all those things. So let's begin. I will be talking about all the different emotions and also about the healing modalities with the help of the four elements. So fire, water, earth, and air. Because the ancient Greeks already understood that those four natural elements are pretty much the fundamentals of our existence. So I will start with air element, which stands for the mind. So what happens in the mind during such intense grief? Well, first of all, I think a very big one is that to this day, so 1.5 years later, I still cannot fully grasp the fact that my daughter is gone for the rest of my life. And I also, of course, understand that this is like a protective mechanism from the mind, right? Because it's such an overwhelming, huge thing that has happened. It has been so traumatic that I don't know, the mind just cannot grasp it. So it's in a form of disbelief, in some kind of confusion that, hey, is this really my reality? Is it really my reality that for the rest of all these days to come, for the rest of my life, that I will never see my daughter anymore? And if I think about that, you can already tell it hurts me a lot because I don't understand how that is possible. So yeah, so that is a very big one, is the disbelief, and it's the confusion and the fact that you cannot comprehend that this is now your new reality for the rest of your life. And I think many of us that have especially lost a child, it's so immense that you recognize this feeling. And also the mind plays this trick on you where you will start to think, but what if? You will play all these what ifs over and over again. What if you would have done something different or said something different? Would the outcome have been different? Somehow you think that you're in control of these big situations and that you could have maybe changed the course of things. But in that case, it's so important to understand that there is a higher order, that there is a higher power. And us humans sometimes just cannot grasp that idea as well, but also think that we are able to change the outcome. Because I literally tried everything to save my daughter, but in the end, I couldn't. Apparently, it was not meant to be. So, yeah, the mind can play this very dangerous trick that the what ifs and that you could have changed it. And if you fall for it, if you start to believe those thoughts, it can become very deadly. And those thoughts can also become intrusive, right? You can get horrible thoughts. And these intrusive thoughts also made me want to unalive myself. After I already did that and barely survived, I still wanted to do that because the pain was so overwhelming, but my intrusive thoughts also made me believe that it was the best, that there was no more purpose, no more meaning, and this was what I had to do to go to my child and nobody will miss me or care. And that can happen once you go into the darkness, right? Like we do after we lose our kid. So, yeah, it's a very dark place to be in. And that's where wisdom comes in. Wisdom from reading and learning a lot. And for example, when it comes to those thoughts, um, Eckhart Tolle with The Power of Now and also A New Earth, those two books, I can recommend it to anybody, to anyone to read those books because it can change your life forever for the better. But to not believe those intrusive thoughts, because I have been in those places, so I know everything about those, how powerful they can be. So what is it that we can do to heal those thoughts? So if we have the air element, right, which stands for the mind, I have written them down here. So air stands for thought and perspective. I already talked just a little bit about Eckhart Tolle, his books that can really help. And I also wrote down here these uplifting thoughts, because thoughts are energy. And you will notice that, of course, when you have very dark thoughts and you can start to feel even more horrible, your body will respond to it, because thoughts are almost like commands to your body. So when you think these very negative, horrible, dark thoughts, then your body starts to feel horrible as well. So your reality becomes dark. And so uplifting thoughts are very important, and I know it's easier said than done because I have been there. But the greatest trick is to be an observer of your thought, like Eckhart Tolle teaches, right? To observe them and not to take them for the truth, because they're just fleeting elements, let's say. They're fleeting all the time. Meditation to clear your mind, and especially if you go into the alpha state, it is a beautiful way to also connect with the higher power and with your higher self and with the loved ones in the afterlife. So meditation can also really clear your mind, your soul, your body. It is really helpful. So it is. The mind is a very powerful tool, and you can maybe try to consciously steer it for the better. So have the most uplifting thoughts you can have, the more positive energy that you can have, the more clear your mind is, the better you will feel. And it is hard work. It is really hard work, and sometimes you can do it and sometimes you can't. So also be forgiving to yourself. So now we can go into the spirit, which stands for the fire element. And you will see that if you lose your child, or you have another very traumatic, shocking event happening in your life, that everything will just collapse. All these concepts that you thought you were, it all crashes and burns. You lose everything because you lost all meaning and all purpose. So this fire literally burns through everything. And when you lose all of that and you're wandering in this desert, I called it the desert. I had no compass. Everything looked the same. There was no way for me to go anywhere. And I was just dwelling around in the desert with nowhere to go and no place to be. And in the spiritual world, they also call that the dark night of the soul. But what happens also in the dark night of the soul is you also need this dark to see the light again. And what happened was, after I lost all sense of self and purpose and meaning, I went so far down into the darkness that that's actually where I found that I was caught again by this light. There was this source of unconditional light that was always there, and I suddenly just reached that rock bottom, and I realized that was God's light, the source, this powerful energy source that we are all part of. And slowly I let this light come into my soul step by step by step, and know that I was already a believer in God. But now, because I lost everything and I surrendered and I fully was leaning into God, and I started to naturally align myself with this energy source, that it started to fill me up. So slowly this light came into my soul and a new path started to open and a new beginning, very slowly, step by step. It was literally 1,000 very small steps leading to this very moment. And I know that there are more things to come. So you will see in some cases, a lot of cases, that when you hit rock bottom, this total darkness, and you think you cannot go any further, then suddenly you can hit this light. And that's where many people in this tragedy find God. But I also know of many people, and I still sometimes have it when my mind will take over, is that I feel that God took away my child and has abandoned me. But deep down, my soul knows it's not true. I felt it. I'm living in unity with God. So not as a separate being anymore. But still, if that very tricky mind can take over, I will fall into it. So that's why it's very important to be conscious of it. But anyways, so that is the spirit. And if we look at this fire element, it says meaning and transformation. And that is what I was just speaking about, right? To find, if you find this deeper meaning to it after this darkness, and you are able to transform it, to alchemize it, which is not easy. Trust me, I know it fully. And I wrote down a few things that you can do. Like, for example, this create a ritual, find a creative way to honor your loved one. And what you also see a lot when a person maybe dies of a rare disease, then this family is maybe able to start a foundation in the name of the child. Or something other tragic happened. Like, for example, if you think about the Amber Alert, where it comes from this little 9-year-old girl, if I remember correctly, called Amber, that was murdered, right? So usually these tragedies, if you can do it, if you allow it to happen and you're consciously putting effort into it, it can create something new, which can then help others. And that is the most powerful thing that can happen from tragedy. Then it has a new meaning. It has some kind of meaning. Yeah, so that is the fire element. And then we can go into the next one, which is earth, which stands for the body. So when we look at the body, what happens when we are experiencing this extreme trauma and shock is that you will see that your nervous system will react the first. And it will go into this fight or flight mechanism. And from this fight or flight mechanism, many ailments, problems will arise. So your mind also doesn't help, right? You're in such shock that just everything collapses. So your mind, your body, your spirit, everything. And what happens also to the body, I mean, you can just start to have headaches. You will have chest pains, maybe heart palpitations. You can feel that your throat is tightening and that you cannot breathe. And I still have that to this day. This fight or flight response can take maybe 3 years or even longer to fully heal after such traumatic experiences. So to this day, it is still very hard. And you can maybe stop sleeping for a while. You can maybe only sleep for a few hours a night. And your digestive system collapses. You don't want any food for a while, a long time. For me, it took 8 months before I was able to finally feel hungry again and to want to eat again and to feel good when eating, because I used to not want to eat and then I would get really sick and a lot of stomach pains if I would eat, because the body was in such survival mechanism. It was not thinking about digesting food. It was literally thinking about how are we going to survive another minute, hour, and then day. So yeah, you're just constantly almost like battling this nervous system, and you will feel tightness of the muscles. And I also wake up with always muscle pains and jaw pains, and everything is so tight. And it's due to all this trauma that I have also endured. And the body keeps the score, like Bessel van der Kolk said. So if we look at the earth element, which stands for the body, you will see the ground and to stabilize. That is the most important part in this healing aspect, in this natural healing. And it is also to feel safe again, because after this happens, everything feels unsafe because you thought that this is your life, this is how it's going to be, and suddenly it's gone and changed forever. And it will never be the same anymore. So you will feel unsafe walking on this earth, because who would have known, and then suddenly this happens. So it is very important to start to feel safe again and stabilized and grounded. And one of the things you can do is walk in nature and surround yourself with trees. If I look outside of my window, I will see my beautiful tall pine trees that are covered in snow, and they have such great healing energies. And it also comes from a study in Japan, this forest bathing. I will put up a few articles here, but it is very healing also for your emotional well-being and your physical well-being, which goes hand in hand, right? It's one circle. So, yeah, the forest bathing and then movement. So any little movement that you can get, if it's like a walk or maybe some yoga or whatever you like to do, it is very important to move your body, because I stopped moving my body for quite a long time because I was so mentally unwell that I couldn't move. So I was just laying on this couch for days and days and days on end, very sick, not eating, in total shock and pain. And I started to notice that my body started to collapse more, and I started to have other chronic problems on top of it because of the not moving, because of the lack of blood flow. So, yeah, it is very important to try to keep even little movements in a day, to create routines, and yeah, warming foods to increase your chi. So your life force energy is very important because your body needs all the help it can get right now. And then we can go to the next one, which is the emotional side, and that stands for the water element. As we all know, many different emotions come up after such a horrific loss. And the things that you can experience, for example, like I am still doing to this day, is this chronic sadness. It's like a cloud hanging over me no matter where I go, no matter what I do, even when I'm smiling or laughing or going out somewhere to have a little bit of food. I will always feel this chronic sadness, and it's maybe also the depression, but also the longing part. It is mostly the longing part, and you will forever long for your child until you are reunited again. And the only way to fully reunite is when we go to our children in the heavenly realm. And when that happens, you will finally sense this feeling of relief and that you're at peace again. And finally, you're complete. Because it's such an essential part of you that's missing that you will never be able to feel completely whole. I mean, I can fully lean into God. I can fully live in alignment. And all those things that are good and meaningful. But still, my kid, I will never see her again here in this earthly realm, in this 3D reality. And because of that, I will just never be complete anymore. Although I know that in a soul level, we are complete, we are whole. But I also say we're living the human experience. So, in that sense, yeah, it is a very, very deep one and a very horrible one to always feel this longing and that you're not whole, that there's always something missing, is very the most essential part of you. And I will feel it for the rest of my life until the day that I die, and then I'm finally back with her. And then I can finally breathe again. So, yeah, this is something that I have noticed that people that haven't had this experience don't fully realize it yet. But how can they, right? Because they are not living that reality. But this is the reality for all the people that have lost a child. So yeah, it's a heavy one. And yeah, I just mentioned the depression. It's a very difficult one. You can feel very angry about the situation and how it happened and why. So you can feel angry at people and at God and also at yourself, and yeah, at so many things, and maybe also feel guilt. You know, many of us feel guilt. And although I couldn't save her, even though I tried everything, in the end I couldn't. And although I know it's not my fault because she had this extremely rare disease that barely anybody knows about, and they didn't find it out until it was too late, that even though I couldn't save her because of that, I will feel guilt because I'm her mother and I'm supposed to protect her and I couldn't. So I will always feel guilty about that. And yeah, it's just the human aspect of ourselves. And I think it's a very normal aspect because we love our kids, right? So guilt also, and I must say it has also been very difficult to see her friends grow up, because all those children that I know, they all get to celebrate birthdays and they're all growing and developing into young children, into teenagers, into. And our kids that have passed, they never get to do that anymore. And sometimes I also feel angry about that why does my kid not to get to celebrate her birthday anymore? But other children do. What did I do wrong, right? So that's also a very normal human response. But yeah, let's go to the healing aspect of that, of the water element. And as you can see, I wrote down the flow and the release, because emotions are always flowing, but in moments of high acute stress, it can just stop, it can stagnate, right? So what is very important for all these emotions to still continue to flow and to not stagnate and to cause more deeper chronic problems is, for example, if you cry freely, to not suppress your emotions, because it will start to build up and become bigger and worse. So I also wrote down is to literally also wash the sorrows away, warm baths, hot showers, and sit by bodies of water, so lakes and rivers and ocean, because there has been also a lot of research done that it is so very helping, and it can get you in a meditative state, and it will help you emotionally and with pain and trauma and physically. And yeah, water is incredible. And I also wrote down is to name and release the emotions. And that is it comes down to the same idea as to be an observer of your thought, is when you name and release these emotions consciously, you are less overwhelmed when they arrive. That it's not like a wave that continues to hit you all the time and knocks the air out of your lungs, right? But that you also start to have a grip on them, that you realize what emotion is now coming up, and to sit in it consciously, and then to let it go in peace and to not fight it. Because we should not keep fighting our emotions or fighting our body, but try to help it to get through this grieving process as intact as we can be, right? So I think it's a very important one. Then there is a fifth one that kind of combines all of these elements. And to me, it has been one of the most important ones, actually. And that is energy. And energy is the flow between all these four elements, because God is energy, our bodies are energy. And like Nikola Tesla said, is to understand the secrets of the universe is to know that everything is energy, frequency, and vibrations. I wrote down a few of these natural healing modalities that you can do as an energetic healing modality. So, for example, this acupuncture, I still do it to this day. Acupuncture has been one of the greatest helps there is for me, because it all works on an energetic level, and it works with the meridians in your body. And it's 1,000-year-old Chinese wisdom, right? So acupuncture is, to me, very important. And when doctors also in the past couldn't find an answer, and I went to acupuncture, I was immediately healed, sometimes walking with pain for months. Because this pain comes from a stagnated or a blocked energy source. And once you put in the needles in the right places, once an acupuncturist does that, it can free those blockages, and the energy starts to flow again, and the pain or the discomfort will disappear. So because of this acupuncture, I have had no need for any medication, whilst I have had panic attacks, and still sometimes have, or depression and deep sadness and pains throughout my whole body. So I try to go on a regular basis to the acupuncture, sound healing, shamanic healing, Reiki, meridian tapping, and trauma release exercises. Those are things that I have done as well. And this meridian tapping and trauma release exercises, you can look them up on YouTube and then follow it, because you have many teachers doing this online for free. And it can help some. Especially this trauma release exercises, because it invokes this shaking mechanism to literally shake off build-in trauma response, and you will feel so much lighter and so much more at ease, and your body will hurt less. So that is a very powerful one as well in this energetic healing field. I know it's a very difficult journey for all of us parents, and of course for other people that are going through a very traumatic loss or shock or event. And we can use all the help we can get. And that is also why I'm trying to make those videos. I do it in honor of my daughter, but I also do it to connect with other parents that have lost a child. So if you have any comments, feel free to leave them behind, or you can send me an email and let's connect a bit more, because I know there are many of us out there and I would love to hear more from you. So yeah, anyways, take care. Take very good care of yourself, and I wish you all the best on this difficult journey, and may God bless you.